coffee, but otherwise.
All right. Here we are. We are live. It is Friday, last day of the month, March.
Right.
See ya. It's gone
Where'd it
out of
go?
here. I don't know, but I'm glad it's going. That's all I'm going to say about that. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the last IT hour of March. We are still getting used to the new version of Crowdcast. So we're coming on a minute late and getting used to calling everyone in and all of that. So I think the audience is getting used to it too. Everybody will trickle in and everything. But we are certainly glad to have you all with us. Thanks for joining. We have four guests with us today. One has been here before, and the rest are new. So exciting stuff. So thanks everyone for joining. We're going to do introductions and everything. And we've got just a couple of small things really quickly, and we'll jump into the panel and everything. But first off, checking in to see how's everyone doing. Everybody doing okay?
Doing well. Yeah, I think you kind of summed it up. Happy the end of March and certainly happy it's Friday.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything fun to celebrate kicking March to the curb or just typical weekend?
Typical weekend, although I know I've talked about it before, but baseball season just started and I am a huge Mets fan. So tonight is the second game. So I plan to watch it somewhere. I'm very excited. It's baseball season now.
Very cool. I'm still at the tail end of basketball. I graduated from San Diego State, so go Aztecs. But I haven't been paying enough attention to the Final Four because I've had other stuff going on. So, but yeah, maybe I'll pay more attention now that I don't know. Anyone basketball, baseball, or anything else?
Giants suck this year, so I'm out.
I pay enough attention to the Mariners to be able to talk to my dad about it. So, like if they're doing well or not, that's usually about it. So, yeah.
I was watching Duke until they got kicked out, and then they got booted, and then but I mean, you know, I was happily surprised with San Diego State. So
It's
see.
still hockey season up here.
Isn't that like 75% of the year? It's hockey season.
Depend. Hockey is year round.
Pretty close, yeah.
I mean, one of my my Instagram feed is full of like hockey, or I should say fights in hockey. I have no idea how that happened. I think it's just for when I work with Canadians and I just looked up hockey fights. But I mean, I watch those, not as much as cat videos, but I watch those. As for baseball, I get my updates from a coworker and a friend. It's like, so the Yankees beat this team today. I'm like, oh, cool. And what happened? Like, oh. So Aaron, sorry you didn't get Judge. Judge stayed with us.
It's fine with me. I like likes.
I love going to Giants games. When I was in San Francisco, been to a couple, and they were a lot of fun. I used to live in San Diego, so I would love going to the Padres. There's absolutely nothing here. There's no Raleigh. There's no say hi to my cat's tail. That's Sally, by the way. She sometimes makes an appearance. But there's no baseball here except for the Durham Bulls. Okay, so I would get hurt if I didn't. But there's no like pro league stuff that I can go to like I used to be able to go to the Padres. So yeah. Okay. Now that I guess we can move on from sports. Quick note, I will flip over and put up a link. We are going to have a beta for Jump Cloud Protect. So if you use it and if you are interested in signing up, you can actually click that button at the bottom. It will take you to a post on the community, and you can get the details on how to sign up for that if you are interested. Uh, please do if you are, because we love to hear your feedback and shape that. That was all we were going to talk about on product stuff today. Alexa, I don't, did you have any meetup stuff today?
I don't have anything today, actually. I will have some announcements next week, but nothing today as we, look ahead to Q2, which is crazy. But yeah, I don't want to take any more time away from this amazing panel we have.
Yeah. I forgot to be looking at the comments today. But Rob's comment, now that I've seen that, is pretty funny. So what we will do is maybe have people make comments while we are talking, and we might put up a poll and choose some of the funniest ones for at least one of our giveaways, maybe? What do you think of that?
I think that sounds good.
All right.
Yes, we do have a handful of giveaways today, which is fun end of month celebration.
All right. Well, with that, let's do introductions. We are going to talk about who you are, what you do, and how you got into technology. I believe that's what we agreed on, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. Who wants to start? Or I could just go in the order that I see on screen. Lou, you're sandwiched between me and Alexa on my screen, so why don't you start?
Can I exercise veto power? No, it's fine. So hi, I'm Louise. In the Mac admins community, you know me as Mac Lemur. My Human name is Louise, as some of you may or may not know. So the elevator bio pitch of me basically is I'm currently an IT manager at a software development firm. And I've been in IT more years than I have paused to count on. So let's just say, a lot. So how I fell into IT is literally I stumbled into it blindly. After I graduated from university, a friend ran an IT department. It's like, hey, do you want a job? I'm like, no, I want to take the summer off and, goof off. My parents are like, you're an idiot. Go back and call them. So I did. And from that point on, I learned all the things from saying, have you turned it off and on again? To actually configuring VoIP. Then after a while, I got kind of bored of that and fell into the dark side of IT management, where I've been now for, I don't know, this many years or so, I guess. And that's me in a 30-second elevator pitch.
Awesome.
I can pop in.
Kelly or Aaron, if you want to go, go ahead. Go for
There we
it.
go.
By all means, Aaron, go for it.
We'll keep the free popcorn train going. I'm Erin. I'm an IT consultant and a leader. I dabble in a lot of things now, but most of it is around strategy and consulting, and operational work, essentially like how to make like the front end of all of your teams work really, really well. Be a good manager, be a good human, and what that looks like in terms of like future technology, and the way that we operate within like a larger business. Most of you know me as Merchant in the chat. I don't hang out in a lot of chats anymore, but I'm like real deep into a couple. And this is also a free plug for the Mac Admins Foundation too. I'm one of the newer members of the Mac Admins Foundation board. Oh, how many years have I been doing this? Forever. Like, I don't even know anymore either. And like everybody else, I got into this by accident. So I'm not going to tell the whole long story of the accident, but I was lucky enough to work at a really unique environment as one of my first jobs, also out of college, during a recession. Yeah. And it became the profession of choice that's kept me going and a roof over my head for, I think nearly 20 years now.
That's awesome. If anybody's accidental story includes peanut butter and chocolate colliding, then I really want to hear the whole tale. Otherwise, we could just. So, Monica or Kelly, which one of you would like to go?
Go for it, Monica.
All right. I actually started in retail out of high school because I was working while going to university, supporting an ungrateful spouse. And I ran into a guy in a cashier line one day. I'm cashing him out, and he's like, "You've got a really good attitude." And I said, "Really? Because I'm having a really bad day." He's like, "Here's my card. Come work for me." So, I mean, I started in mainframe support and from there on, I ended up doing night classes at a post-secondary institution that's been sued many times. I won't give their name, but I got my Novell CNE. um, then I ended up doing clerical admin work for an engineering firm that ended up shoving me into Macintosh tech support. And being a power user who used DOS, WordPerfect, Lotus 123, and I never touched a mouse before, throwing things in the trash to eject a disk freaked me right out. But also tweaked that little bit of, hey, that's kind of neat. And after about 6 months of hating Macs so much, I began to think, wait a minute, it thinks like me. I really like this and I want to do more of it. So I ended up supporting 3 cities at this engineering firm, doing network backups. All of the people above me in tech quit. So I ended up doing all of their jobs, but they wouldn't pay me more than their secretarial salary. So I said, bye-bye, adios. And I went to a consulting firm that placed me at a major telco. Yeah, this is getting long. So from the telco, I hired my sister, left that job, worked for the school board doing Macintosh tech support for 7-8 years, and then got a sweet gig working for a union in another city, met a man, moved out, and I'm doing more Mac tech support than I could ever have imagined and having fun. Oh, and I did help out organizing the Mac Deploy conference a few times.
Nice. There
It
was
was
that
fun.
signature Canadian oot. I heard an oot. All right, Kelly, since you were the last one to join, you get to do the last intro.
So I got interested in technology at a very early age because my mom was a grade school teacher, and the teacher who had the classroom next to her before school started one year, the teacher, this is important, the teacher was 6 feet tall, and she came over and asked my mom, because I was helping my mom put up bulletin board stuff, and I was like a 3rd grader, and she said, can you come over and help me? I bought a computer and brought it into the classroom because I think computers are going to be a big deal, and it would be nice if the kids could have it, but I would like to know if I can have Kelly come crawl under the desk and plug everything in because I can't get under there. And so, being significantly lower to the ground, even to this day, I crawled under the desk and plugged everything in, and she said, "I got a game for this. If you wanna play it, you're welcome to come sit here and play Oregon Trail." And that was it. So I ended up getting into tech support by having a friend who was working in a call center and said, we need Mac people. And I found out that it paid twice as much as it was paying me to sling lattes at the airport. So I switched careers, and that was a significant amount of time ago, more years than I'm emotionally ready to confess to on the internet. So I did tech support for a lot of different places for a lot of years. And then friend and previous guest on the show, Tom Bridge, said, we could really use someone like you at my company. Do you want to come work for me? And I said, okay. And then after like a year, he was like, okay, that's cool. I'm going to go work for Jump Cloud now. So I'm still at his old place, and he now works with Becky and Alexa, and I really like it. And so I'm mostly remote, and I get to talk to lots of different people about all kinds of different things that they're doing, because we're an MSP, and it's really nice to never be bored, but at the same time, it's sometimes also really frustrating. So there you go.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I love the how many times did dysentery and you're running Oregon Trail, to throw that up there. I keep forgetting that we
I
can
made it
now
more
click
often
on
than
the-
not. Like, yeah, the hook for technology was, as a very young person, I got to be the boss for a change. Like, you know, when you're little, everyone tells you what like everyone else gets to tell you what to do. And sitting down in front of a computer that was like, hi, my whole function is to sit here and wait for you to tell me what to do was really exciting. And so I ended up doing a lot of stuff over the year, like as more teachers got more computers, and they got a few like in the library and things, like being able to create the word search for the teachers who were doing word find for the spelling words for the week for all the grade school teachers that worked with my mom. So yeah, my mom would be like, yeah, this teacher needs you to go help them figure out whatever the thing is they're trying to do, because most of them were not interested in sitting down and typing into the green screen to figure out what it was, and then would just get frustrated when it broke. And I would just go, oh, okay, that didn't work. I guess I'll try something else. And it never fazed me. So the puzzle solving part of my mind was pretty good. Mostly I did not die of dysentery. So that does help. And yeah, knowing how to sling a latte was also like having professional caffeine pursuits was also, yeah, a huge advantage. I will say that.
Still something I don't know how to do.
Yeah.
That can be good and bad, because if you are really good at that, then everybody's going to ask you, hey, can you
Yeah.
make me?
Yep.
I'll throw
I'm
that comment up there. Yeah. that right there. I when I first worked in the IT office, I did not know how to make coffee, and they asked me to make it once. But everybody shared in making coffee. I made it, and I apparently didn't make it strong enough for everyone. Apparently they wanted it black sludge, and I did not make it strong enough, and they did not ask me to make it again. So there we go. Good and bad. All right. So definitely active in the comments. We got all kinds going on. So it wasn't purposeful. What do you call it? It wasn't purposeful incompetence, but it worked in my favor anyway.
I told the engineers, I don't drink this stuff. How would I know how to make it? You do it.
Exactly. I mean, I drink it a little bit, but not to the extent they did. And oh boy, they liked it really strong.
Yeah. I
So-
always drink coffee with Baileys. So obviously, I don't.
That's a pro
I don't
move.
think it work.
Yes, coffee with Baileys. I used to do that when we would go fishing really early in the morning for trout. You know, you are leaving at like 4 or 5 a.m. Hot coffee with Baileys. That was the best. That was definitely the best. So we just heard about the different career paths, and it's a great segue into the next topic, where we were going to talk about diversity of practice. So what are some of the things you do in your role that differ from roles at different organizations? I think we've got everybody in slightly different sectors. So let's talk a little bit about that. Who wants to go first?
Aaron does.
I was here I am sitting here going like, Louise and I are on a panel together. She can't heckle me like as a who is
Wanna
supporting
bet?
all of my talks and conferences, and yet she finds a way.
It's all love.
It is.
Aaron?
This is what I come here for. I mean, so I've done, like I said, I've done a lot of things. And so, you know, one of the things that I think I found over the years, having been an admin, having been a consultant, having been a manager, having been a director, having been a strategist now, is that like no two styles of leadership and no two organizations are truly the same. And what that means is that every time I've hopped from traditional place to traditional place, like let's just say like, you know, a big four-walled box that we go to or don't generally go to anymore, that works with a corporate structure, does not equate to needing the same solutions. And that was probably like, it's a free piece of advice that I give myself and I give to all of you. But, you know, I think the first and best thing that I've ever done is shirk what I know, but keep the knowledge in the repository, basically. Is just don't assume that that thing is actually the same linear solution that is going to be needed from place to place. and like that's partially a privilege, right? Like working in an early stage startup, working at a large corporate institution, working with like small MSPs. Like I've done all of those things, so I've gotten to see a diversity of what's out there. But what it really meant is like the way that I worked every single time had to shift a little bit. So it also like came up in a group conversation about like the trends that we're seeing in those different disparate areas are slightly different now. The market is weird, to say the least. That's probably the most diplomatic way of putting it.
The
Right,
technical term.
so yeah, the market is weird. People's interest in going back to an office versus not is changing. And like my organization is focused specifically on like security and just like general function these days, which like, yeah, security's so hot right now. But what I'm finding is that there's also like a very big difference in terms of what I'm looking at, in terms of like what is my biggest strategic, sorry for the buzzword, pillar in the industry. And so like we started talking about that. So this was actually like my free way of asking a question of like my panelists, my fellow panelists, to be like, well, what are you working on and what's strategically important to you right now? Because maybe I'll put that on my roadmap. So that's how we got there. I will popcorn on to somebody else.
Great artists steal, right?
Yeah, I'll take it after I got my heckle in. You know, you guys should probably just go. And Aaron, I warned you, I will always heckle you. I agree and disagree with no two companies are alike. I agree in that their priorities may be different, but in the end, the needs are the same. Now, my perspective is coming from basically general IT. Turn it off and on again. How do you want to support the machine? The needs are the same. You've got an endpoint. I need to secure it. I need to manage it. So every company is the same. Where I agree with you, however, where things are different is that it's the actual needs of what you need. So if you're at large Acme Co, you would probably need an enterprise grade tool to manage your Macs. But if you're at small shop co or your environment is static, you don't need big tool. You could get away with a smaller tool. If your team is smaller, then you might look at one pane of glass. So that's the differences that I've seen. I've gone from large conglomerate to, okay, we'll spend the money and we'll go for different panes of glass, to where I am right now, where it's small co and we need fewer tools to manage it because we have a limited amount of staff. That's one thing. The other thing is how the companies actually progress. Large established corporate type environments actually, I think, are really methodical. It's like, what are our requirements? What are our tools? And we'll debate it to death of what we want. Smaller companies and tech companies have a kind of a frack it, let's ship it. Let's be agile, throw poo against the wall. If it sticks and it works, yay. However, if this poo runs and it fails, they're not afraid for things to break and change it. Whereas at a large corporation, you do everything to avoid problems. So that's what I've seen in the past few years of bouncing between traditional corporations and smaller agile tech firms.
Monica, do you want to talk about the hammer?
One is maintenance, two is abuse.
Progressive movement, right?
Or when you have a hammer, everything looks like a nail. If that's all you have.
Yeah, there's just something about tech and, how it's evolved over the years and, trying to fit what in the previous to what's coming out in the future. Sometimes you got to go old school just to get the new school to do what you need.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot like Louise is saying, a lot different, but a lot the same. Everybody I work with, regardless of what industry they are, if they're government adjacent, because we're based in Washington, D.C., government adjacent or not, nonprofit or not, a few people, a lot of people, all Macs or Macs and something else, or whatever it is, they all need like a basic level of security and management and understanding, because like at every organization there's like the person who's going to click upgrade and never read anything no matter what happens. There's going to be the person who needs to get on the phone with you and just so that you can tell them, where it says you should click OK, so that they can click it. And there's always going to be the people who will muddle through, and the people who will ask questions like, I was going to do this, but I wanted to make sure it was cool. Yeah, it's fine. Or, go check the box that says, I don't want it to crash every time it boots up. Like you're going to get like all those, like all the different types of folks that you end up dealing with all have, a lot of the same things in common. And, they all need that regardless of who they are and what they do and what software we have installed on their machines. Everybody needs certain things and sometimes that's hand-holding, and sometimes it's weapons grade security compliance is what they're up against, and we have to help them with whatever that might be. So it is one of the things that I like about my job that I think can be really frustrating for some people, because I've described it to some people who are just like, that sounds like the most horrible way to spend a day that I've ever heard. and I really like it because I like having something different to work on all the time and having it be a new problem to solve. And then, part of what I get to do, because I'm remote, because I'm not in DC, like I don't go to a client site and go lay hands on a machine to do what, for all the appropriate chanting and everything that needs to happen for whatever it is that has to get accomplished. So I work on like back end things, like helping make sure that all the stuff that we use is all working like it should, and being able to make sure that everything else is working, so that the people that do have to go spend time driving between clients and getting all kinds of stuff happening, that what they're doing is as easy as possible. So it's almost like having two different jobs that I do at the same time, but it's really interesting, and I'm always learning stuff, and it's always there's almost always something useful, and the people that I work with are all super great. So I don't know if they're watching or not, and I'm not saying that because I think they're here, but that helps a lot too, like being able to have everybody feel like you're kind of all pulling in the same direction, that everybody's working for the same thing. That also makes a huge difference.
We'll send them a recording. When you said laying on of hands, I had this picture of like an old school evangelist, and it just,
Yeah,
I do it. Please.
Yes.
Yeah.
Two
I will
Hail
rub the
Marys and
wrist rest on my
cross
computer.
yourself.
Yeah.
Offer it a
Yeah.
cookie.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. You're crossing
I
your
do rub
fingers
the
and your
wrist
toes
rest
and everything.
Compliment my laptop, and rub next to the trackpad and go, you
Pet
can do
it and
it. I
say,
believe
"You're
in
so
you,"
pretty. You're
Yeah.
so pretty. I love you." I swear, I wasn't swearing at you earlier. Honest, it wasn't you. It was something else. Really.
Not my computer. I apply
No.
profanity to other technology, not my own.
Yeah. I wasn't swearing at you, my pretty. It was something else. Honest. It was the refrigerator. My computer's over here to the right, and I'm looking at it and petting it, just so you have context.
I used to carry a
So
sparkle wand, one of those kids' little wands. And it was for theatrics because your client is always stressed out. And you just whip this wand out when they're over your shoulder trying to help you when they shouldn't. And you just go, I am going to make it all better. And this sparkle wand, they're so distracted. It worked. And sometimes it's not about the machine, but the people.
PEBCAC.
Mm.
9 times out of 10. Yeah, definitely. So now that we've established, different industries, different size companies, sometimes different practices, sometimes not. It contributes to the culture and attitudes towards IT. What's your experience been like in terms of opposition to adopting best practices? Have you run into that? Uh, yeah, everybody's run into a little bit of opposition of adopting best practices.
Because it's different.
Documentation.
Oh, documentation.
Oh,
Sometimes it feels like documentation. What's that? Because that kind of feels like that's how people are, right?
Yeah.
I
But
love
also
what you
inertia. I
said,
think
Lee.
there's a lot of like, I figured out how everything works now, and now you want to make it different. And so, no. Like, I think sometimes there's a lot of that, especially for people who have a slightly more adversarial relationship to their technology than
It's like
than
we
other
fear change.
Yeah,
Yeah.
hugely.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So how do you drag them along into current practices when what they're doing may not be the best?
I mean, I'm dealing with this
With that
too.
hammer again?
Yeah,
Monica?
right. Like what was it? One's maintenance, two's a problem.
2 is abuse.
Yeah, there we go. I don't know. I'm dealing with this quite a bit right now. One of the things that is unique about one of the like my day job org that I'm working with is that we have a pretty big mix of individuals, and I think that was one of the most important things that I went and found out. We have a lot of individuals who are entering the workforce for the very first time, and then even more so working in a tech focused area. So literally like this is the first time they've ever received a computer at their house to do their job. And then we have a lot of individuals who have come from large organizations, like I would say like very large, monolithic, extremely traditional Fortune 500 companies. And then we've got some people from startups, and we've got some people from straight up healthcare. And so we have this like very, very weird mix of individuals. And it means that no one approach is really going to work for everyone, but you also can't go with the majority rules in that case. And so what does that mean for me? It means a lot of handholding, which is like amongst friends, like it can be exceptionally frustrating because you have to go back to the baseline expectations of support and assume that somebody truly knows nothing. But then on the other side, you do have all the other individuals that were mentioned by Kelly, right? Who are like the check-in people and the high-end individuals who already get it, and the somewhere in the middle, but just not feeling confident about it people. And so I think what I have ended up doing is, you know, like we like to josh about it, but document the shit out of everything. Oops, sorry, that's right. I told myself I was going to swear. I got my one out and we're moving on. Okay, cool. Yeah, thanks for the support. Like
You went a full 35 minutes. So.
yeah, I'm growing as a person. But you know, like it's document everything. But even more than document, it's communicate. I think I've actually had much more effective it's been much more effective to communicate out. So write good comms, or you know, at least send a note, post somewhere that like a blanket thing is happening, which can go too far, right? Like you have to find that line between like telling everybody that everything's happening and nothing is happening at all, but oh no, we're gaslighting you into thinking that something has changed. But then the other part is literally just drag them with you. Like it sounds so crappy, and it's something that I think we've worked really hard as an industry to get away from. But there is a point where like I literally just had this conversation with somebody. I said, where is your time best spent? Is your time and your risk mitigation best spent with the 20% of people who still need to upgrade to Ventura? And is that when you really want to pound the pavement? Or is it on this last 1% that you just for whatever reason will not let go of? And like when you say things out loud like that, right? Like where do you want to spend your time and energy? And you know, there is a little bit of hierarchy of deserves it. And then the question of in that 1%, is it because of resistance or is it because of a lack of understanding? Sure, spend the time with the people with the lack of understanding, but those who really don't want to come with you are going to have to eventually. And then it is do the thing, document well, communicate heavily, get a manager or another leader involved just for some CYA, and then do the thing and have thick skin. Like, I cannot stress that enough. That stuff, as much as it sucks because it's going to make your day miserable, is the stuff that like you just have to let roll off. What is it like to quote one of my favorite drag queens, water off a duck's back, right? And move on. That's my whole spiel on that. It's like I've taken a lot more of I would say it's like a much more regimented approach to it, right? Like, and don't start coming up with variables for the way that you deal with stubbornness. Just, yes, I love the comment section. Yeah, like, you know, don't change your style for every situation. Have a structure, have consistency in that structure and the personality within it, and then just keep on repeating and reiterating that, and it makes everything, especially the harder situations and the stubborn ones, a lot easier to get through, if not easier in practice.
Yeah, I have found a lot of the people who are resistant because if it's a question of understanding, that's a pretty easy thing for me to overcome, because I'm like, I will explain this to you until you are sick to death of details. So here's the high level. This is why it's better. You know, this is why this is happening, right? For good or bad. And like in real life, here's what it means for you. From now on, there's the extra step of entering a code or approving a push notification if it's two-factor, you know. And the reason we are doing this is reasons. And then, you know, a lot of times it's sort of fear of the unknown. So like, here's why we're doing it. Here's all the reasons it's a good idea. And, you know, initially it'll suck, but then it'll just be part of what you do every day and it won't be a big deal. And sometimes just being able to help people with a better understanding, because especially when it comes to things like security, and a lot of compliance is wrapped up in hand with security, having that stuff be something that is at least on a high level understood, I think is usually the part where I end up spending the most time on. Like, upgrading stuff is not the actual process of having to do it or implement two-factor or anything like that, as an example of a thing I've spent a lot of time explaining. It's more about people having a good idea, like why I have to bother doing this. And then, you know, what am I going to get out of it? Well, you know, ideally what you're going to get is to be the only person who ever logs into your email, as opposed to some other person who shouldn't have access. That's what you get out of it, which sounds kind of dumb, but, you know, like, have you read the news lately? You know, that's a thing that happens to a lot of people. And and I think for a lot of the people that I work with, you know, especially when technology is not the point of their job, they work on in some completely different field, but need a computer because they get email and they have to look things up online or work in some system that they use, but that's not the point of their job. And for those folks, especially when it comes to stuff like security, you know, security has a reputation for being complicated, for being something only really, really, really smart people are able to actually understand, and something that like you will never know about. And if you don't even know where to start asking questions, then it can feel really intimidating. Like, I don't know anything about this and you want me to do these extra things and I'm not interested in being that person. And, you know, I don't want to have to spend all of my life managing stuff on my computer, and you don't have to. You know, it's I always find that car analogies are really helpful for a lot of people. So like, you don't have to know how to rebuild an engine, but you do have to know, I got to check for gas. I got to make sure the doors are closed before I back out of the garage. I got to make sure the garage doors open before I back out of the garage.
Got to make sure it's in reverse and not drive.
Exactly. Like, very, very basic things. None of that means that you have to be able to rebuild the engine. You don't have to be able to change your own oil, but you need to know it's a car, it's a truck. You know, here's here's how to open the door. Here's how to change from going backwards to going forwards. Here's how to keep it on the road. And like, that's the basic level of operation. I'm not asking you to do anything more than that with your computer. You know, it's basic use kind of stuff. And when I can put it in terms like that, it helps people, I think, demystify a lot. And as long as people sort of get it and understand what it is that's in there for them, that makes a lot of difference, I think. So
Well, speaking of that, that's actually a good segue into the next topic, which was around keeping up on all of this stuff. Keeping up to date on everything, career development. I mean, how do you? Oh, so IT has changed so much in the last 10, 15 years. When I was at UC San Diego on in the IT group, I mean, what we maintained the network and the desktop computers people had and the printer that was on our floor and the phones. Now there's all these additional devices. People are working from home and you've got so many things and way more security than we ever had to deal with. How do you keep up to date and not go absolutely just lose your mind with everything there is to do?
I mean, I've already lost my mind, so I've already gone to step 3 there. And I'm gonna be quite honest, since I spend a lot of time in meetings, writing policies in Excel and PowerPoint, um, I I am not up the latest gizmos, and technology. Just no. Um, but that's a simple fact that I have to accept. My role is to set the policies and directions. There are other people who know better and will have the recommendation to say, okay, okay, you fossil, this is no, we no longer have Novell. We had this thing called the cloud, and there's Azure, or there's Jump Cloud. This is how you do it. Um, and that's what I've relied on a lot. The other part that I rely on, quite honestly, is going to conferences, going to presentations, and seeing how to do things here. The past couple of JNUCs that I've gone to, I've learned things like, oh, wait, you can integrate Slack with your MDM and run commands and do things. This is cool. Ooh, Slack can do these slash commands. This is awesome. And then I look something up. Um, but that's just like, for instance, for me, the nature of the role. My role is to set the direction. Someone else tells me the best possible tool. Yeah, I got nothing else to add to that.
So how do you decide what you need to keep up on versus what you really don't care about? Maybe that's a little bit better addition to the question. Say hi, Sally.
Kitty. That is actually dictated by the current business needs. So if I'm focused on, let's say, security, then like the Eye of Sauron, I will move, look at something, do the evaluations there, but then I'll just have a very simple matrix of these are my requirements, these are the tools, and just score them. Like 1 meets, 2 exceeds, 0 sucks. And then have I met my requirements? And whatever tool has the highest score is usually the one that will move on to like a POC or actually really kick the tires on. But keeping up is literally based on the requirements, generally the requirements of what I'm doing right now. I will, of course, also occasionally read some blogs and like, oh, this is the latest thing. Oh, this is really cool. But I'm not keeping up with the latest dot version and what is new. I just simply can't.
There's too much. I love podcasts for that too. Like listening to other people talk about what you distilling it down to what you really need to know. And then if there's something that catches your eye, you can go dig in further.
Well, I'd been fighting with a Synology NAS and Time Machine, and 2 podcasts that I listened to while I was on the road last week both mentioned it. And it's like, oh, that explains my problem because I've rebuilt the connection 4 times on this NAS and it's drove me crazy. And I don't have the time to spend a day. Like my job, unfortunately, is very hands-on now. I can't spend the day figuring stuff out that I want to project for the future or add to my images when I start deploying machines. And oh yes, by the way, we're so unique. I still do machines one-off because we can't figure a way to make ourselves do it the way we want. And I can't dedicate the time to do that.
Oh man, spending a half day trying to research something and figure it out. Ugh, no one has time for that. Hopefully someone else has already figured it out and you could just go see what they did. Again, like we said earlier, great artists steal.
There are some brilliant minds that I just go to automatically, like the Eclectic Light Company and to Rich Troughton. When I need those things, I know they are my relied, trusted, and true resources. And when Kelly's podcast was on, she was my also.
Aw,
Thank you.
that's so nice.
You saved me so much work so many times.
That was one thing I liked about doing Security Friday was it was nice to be able to just talk about all of that at once. So, and not have to like sprinkle it into, every single day. Like, here's the thing that should make you lose sleep tonight. Like, we were only screwing up people over the weekend when they had time to recover. So that was part of why we started doing it on Fridays, actually, was because I'm like, if I'm gonna give people nightmares, I should give them a couple days of recovery too.
So
So,
Charles asked a really good question about podcasts. So let's divert for a second. I mean, besides the Mac Admins podcast, you know, because of all of y'all, we found you via Mac Admins. Really fun Slack to be a part of if you're not already. In addition to ours, which I can also put a link up to that one. I have it here somewhere. Ta-da! It's coming up. So beside the Mac Admins podcast, I mean, are there other things that y'all listen to that you recommend?
I'm
well,
not.
it's not a podcast, but the IT hour, like when there's headlines at the end, I always keep an ear out for those and kind of see. And I like anything like a podcast or like a mailing list or something where someone else like the bulk of their time is spent with like the news and sorting what's useful to know, what seems like it's going to be a big deal, what seems like something that we don't really need to worry about, because somebody with the knowledge stopped and thought about it and went, this is a big scary headline, but it's not actually a big scary thing. Like, we just want everybody to read it so it looks terrifying, but actually it's not a problem. So having other people sort of sort that and then put it together, like the headlines on the IT hour, or when news comes up on the Macamins podcast, or when something starts getting traction in the Macamins Slack, like those are places that I like to go find kind of what's going on. And then I always have an ear out for the stuff that I've been helping people with. So because I work, because at, MSP Life, like we work with all different kinds of stuff. So if I, like Monica, like if I'm beating my head against some problem with the Synology and I hear somebody say something about Synology somewhere, like I will go, pay a little bit more attention to that and kind of see if there's anything there that could be useful for me. So it's the kind of the same idea. So I'll cast kind of a wider net, but it's a wider net of people who are aggregating it already, so that I can not have to spend my time going and reading a bunch of release notes or something just to see if there's anything in there that's interesting because someone else already did it and told me about it somewhere else.
Yeah, it does take a while to do that on the days that I do it. But I could see maybe trying to make more of an effort of that in the community too, kind of do like an aggregation, a weekly list or something, if that does wind up being helpful for people.
I mean, I feel like we have like a lot of really great deep divers still in the community at large, which is hugely helpful. I'm so thankful that there are people who are both interested and committed to doing the labor, like Ventura, right? Like I know that we've all probably been banging our head against Ventura in one way or another. And like Louise, I was so out of the loop with like how to approach this at this point because it's been a while and I don't really have to anymore. And so like getting back into that and going, like I had to have the like, I don't know where to start moment. Like it was like I was all the way back at square one. So what I will say, just to build on both of those things and to answer part of that question, because I was like, ooh, that is a really great question. It's like, how do you find the resources that you need for all of the broad strokes of what we're talking about? A lot of the times now I'm actually just looking at the news, which to each their own, right? Like we all want some kind of like our personal form of trauma. But if you stick within the wheelhouse of like what's popular on, I think, Wired in particular right now, you're probably going to have some good hits of what your people are thinking about and how it's relevant to their lives. And therefore, what's going to come up for either someone who sits parallel to you or maybe above you in a leadership chain, if you have a leadership chain. Those are the ways that like I think a lot of things are trickling down now versus like there was the joke in there from Kelly of like 10 to 15 years in the last 2 years. I think that has dramatically shifted, that like the social consciousness into technology management has really like hit critical mass. So like when I'm thinking about stuff like that, I'm listening to a lot more like what's relevant today kind of content, because there's so much overlap in how that's now implicating tech. I do love like Pivot I'll put these in the chat too, like Pivot with Kara Swisher, I think is really great if you really want to dig into like the Silicon Valley beat. This Week in Tech, How I Built This. Accidental Tech Podcast is another one to put on your hit list if you all are like really want to get deep into the nerd stuff. I struggle with it now, but I know that like it's not for me anymore, but it's really, really great. Yeah, see, there we go. I think Reply All is still a good one for the archives. It's definitely changed a lot over the years, but when you're talking about a way to get somebody invested in the education of why this is important, like there's some really great episodes in there about, you know, like understanding the dark web and why a VPN is important, and it's told through real people stories. And I think that's like where we are at this point. So I would just say like keep a pulse on what's current in general, and you're probably going to know what the thing is that you're going to need to do. And then if you need a deep dive, like go back to the community or search keywords. Like I know that's like Google it, bro. But like go find a community and like search what you think is popular, the thing that's like on your mind right now. You're probably going to find exactly the translatable like content that you need for how you should be approaching like security posture or your next upgrade or so here you go. Tangle what we weave now.
Absolutely. No, that's great. I think those were all awesome. Rob asked that we compile these and put them in a list in the community, and I'll go back to the chat and do that because I think that's really, well, either I or Alexa will. I might assign that to her. Sorry. But we will do that because I think there's some great stuff in there, and there's a list of sites that I go through when I'm compiling the news that we can put in there as well.
But I
So
think like Monica said, I just want to tack on a little bit there. Like, Eclectic Light, go see what Howard has to say. Go see what what Rich is writing about, because like if it's something that's going to be important to those folks, then like it's something that at some point is going to end up probably being important to me as well. So that's part of what having the good source is for, is because like I can trust that when Becky's got headlines at the end of the IT hour, that it's probably it's relevant to something that I'm probably doing, or or if it's something that has moved Rich to sit down and write a blog post about it, it's something that I should at least glance through it, even though right now it doesn't make any sense because it's not a thing I'm working on. But when it is a thing I'm working on, the back of my brain will go, you read a thing about that, and then I can go to Rich's site and go, wait, there was something, and read it, and that seems to that is a thing that helps me a lot, is even if I don't sit down and take careful notes as I'm reading something from a place that I spend a lot of time reading stuff from, like having at least looked through it, I can be like, I've read something about that somewhere, and I know it was somewhere, and I can go back and find where that was. And that's also really helpful in the not being able to keep up, is just because I have the part of my brain that will go, no, I've seen that. And I just, I need to track down where, but I know it's out there. Yeah.
Mhm. Absolutely. So we've got just a little bit left. So let's wrap with something fun. And what's the most exciting piece of tech innovation you're seeing right now? And if it's not AI, that is perfectly okay, because AI has been around a while. It's just like a big buzz right now with ChatGPT. If that's not it, that's perfectly okay. Maybe we're all sick of it and we want to find something else that's new and interesting and fun. So what is it? there anything that's making you go, "Ooh, cool"?
I don't know if I would say cool, but if you so I saw an article earlier this week about some scientists have created artificial skin and they've wrapped it on a finger. Now, if you add Chat GPT to that, you've seen this movie. You've seen the toasters are going to rise up. Um, it's not exciting. It's actually terrifying. Like, okay, wait a minute. We can put artificial skin now on things. We have ChatGPT going there. I can see, I am not the final Cylon. No, I do not hear songs in my head. My spine does not glow. But
How
if
can you tell? How are you sure of that?
How are we sure of that?
Because that's exactly what the final Cylon would say.
Yes, but you've already seen all 12. You've all seen all 11 Cylon models. It's all been found. The 12th gun is broken. And no, I could be doing it right. I didn't say that I can get others to glow, Charles. I'm just saying that mine doesn't glow. I didn't say I didn't have an app either.
Oh, the advanced version, huh?
Exactly. But couple that together with, sometimes we've seen all the chatty AIs go a little rogue. Was it earlier this year? One said, stop asking me these questions. I'm going to kill this researcher because of this. Yeah, put it in a walking thing with skin. We've got a problem.
Like the movie Megan. And then the one that said it was in love with the person that was questioning it. That was kind
Yeah.
of strange too. I love you. Don't leave me. We talked about that on one of the earlier IT hours. It's just, I don't know. I guess we don't always think through these things. We do something because we can, and we don't always think about whether or not we should. So
Yeah, that's bad.
Yeah. I think the things that are probably the most interesting right now are the things that we weren't expecting, right? Like, to like spin the whole like we're creating our own dystopia, womp womp. But like we're creating all the stuff that like, we expected to see in the future. And like the stuff that like shows up that really like piques my interest are literally the things that are out of left field, which for like in a really cool way, I feel like are things that are happening around accessibility and hearing improvement and visual learning and visual improvement and just, like limb recovery. Like there's a lot of like tech for good that's happening right now that is truly innovative because people are starting to think about that I think is pretty killer. And like
hopefully not literally.
Cylons.
Colloquialisms like happening in the wrong context. It's fine, right? But not by swearing. So, but yeah, I think there's a lot of that that's happening now, and it doesn't get as much like clout as it should. But when you see it, it's just so cool. Like it's the thing that literally like makes you go like, oh my god, and you point and you're like, whoa, what is that? Like, what are those? Like you definitely have that like sensation of like this is new, this is novel, this is something that I can see like being applicable in my day-to-day life, and this is something that like makes something better for everyone, which is such a rare thing I think we've heard recently or like in the last like 5-10 years in tech as a whole. So like that's the stuff that like every time there's an article about it, every time I see like some new startup doing something about it, like I'm into it. I want more of that.
I just went to a health tech conference where they were talking about accessibility. They were talking about accessibility for rural communities and how difficult it is for them to get access to good health care, and how online tech can really help with that. And the former CEO of Epic Games, Dr. Michael Capps, is heavily involved with a company with that. And it was really interesting, Aaron. I think you probably would have really liked it. So I love seeing that with the caveat that all the data that they also collect, we have to push them to be really diligent with how they handle it as well, and really push for the ethical piece of it too, because we've seen what happens when people aren't careful with those things. So, wow, we could go on and on about this. I would love to continue, but we are also at 12:30, and you probably have other meetings to go to. Womp womp.
Well, we're all free next Friday, right? We could just come back.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could do this again and again. I would absolutely love that. Did we get enough votes on the poll, Alexa? We only got 3 votes, and it is a 3-way tie.
I was going to say, we're sitting
Y'all,
at a tie.
come on. We're trying to vote on the best comments. So hop in really quickly and vote on whose comment you liked the most, so that we can do a prize. Otherwise, we're just going to do a random drawing of all the attendees and send it out after the fact. But we would like to do it while we are talking right now. Do a marathon. Oh,
Yes, Rob,
wait.
there was-
Now, are you talking about a what kind of marathon, Pam? Are you talking about
Fortnite.
Can we just do
Marathon
a
what,
2-hour IT hour where we shoot the
Is it
breeze
knitting? What?
like this? We could do this. We could do like an hour and a half of all of us talking like this, and I'm sure we could cover it. Yeah, good. Phew, because
Tag in.
podcasting not running, because I'm out. I'd tap out if it was running. Okay, now we're getting some votes in there,
There we
on this
go.
sidebar. People are finding it now. All right. Yeah, if you see me running, something is chasing me, and you should start running too. I'm telling you right now.
Same.
No
Yeah.
joke.
I do
You
not.
don't have to be fast. You just don't have to be last.
Absolutely.
Monica with
100%.
like key one-liners.
Yeah. What's that one animal that throws their young at predators so they can get away?
Oh
Possums.
my gosh.
No, it's something else too. There's some small furry animal that it is known for throwing its babies
remember.
at
Today I-
predators. Do we have enough votes?
Think we do. Looks like the runaway winner is Hammer equals hard reboot, Sledgehammer equals harder reboot, which was Jonathan's comment. So Jonathan, congratulations. You are the winner.
And who came in second? Because I think we have enough to give the runner-up a prize as well.
Yes. Second place, that was Charles with 90% of the time. It's true every time.
Mm.
Ah, a nice little what was that?
Anchorman.
Yeah, but it's something Panther.
Sex Panther.
Sex Panther. Oh yeah, great. I'm just glad I
Yeah.
said that on.
But it was
on air.
only 60% of the time. It works every time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, leave it to, I gave a presentation where I promised there would be a Zoolander GIF at the bottom of every slide to know exactly what we were talking about. So
Oh, I do think that you were supposed to do the blue steel, weren't you?
no, I'm not physically or emotionally prepared to do that.
Okay. But I just saw Nona's tail. So Nona finally made an appearance. at
It
the
wouldn't be an
last-
IT hour without Nona.
Now it's official.
Okay. All right. So we have our winners. We have 2 winners. And just for fun, we're also going to do a random drawing after the fact, and send someone a gift card as well. And so what we had, $50 for the random winner, and how much for the first place winner?
I don't know if we said. So yeah, we'll send that, but we will do announcements. Let's say next week. How's that, Becky?
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll be doing these drawings more regularly, by the way, because we have been remiss in doing those, and they're fun. And let's look for trying to get this group together again. I've really enjoyed this, and hopefully you have too. And people were saying that they didn't get a notification about it going live, us going live. So I will go look at the settings and try and resolve that. So because of course you want to know when we're going live. And thank you for joining us the last Friday of the month. Looking forward to April. And thankfully, April Fools is on a Saturday, so there will be none of that shenanigans going on. Phew, I just have to look forward to my children trying to prank me.
It's
Um,
good for fishing vests.
yeah, I'm seeing that I got the notification once I hit follow at the top of the page. So yeah, I will see if there's a setting that I need to do to make the reminders come. Oh, look, both cats all at once. There we go. Yay. It's a twofer.
right.
All right, with that, thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful weekend, and we will see you again next week. Take care. Bye, all.